Hi, Charlie.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. My question was, excuse me, my question was this. I I think I understand that if you recognize yourself not to be a separate self, then your actions will reflect that. But my question is, if you understand that intellectually, is that helpful? So the simple example would be, I understand that if I recognize myself not to be a separate self, I would be a vegetarian, for example. But if I hadn't reached that stage and I decided to just intellectually be a vegetarian because I knew that was intellectually to live not as a separate self, would that actually help the process?
It may. It may. Because often we learn more quickly by trying something than by intellectually understanding all the reasons. Let's take an example. Let's take you want to learn how to play the violin. And you buy a book about how to play the violin, and you have all the description of the how to hold the bow, how to place the hand, how to hold the violin, how to shift. You have all this explanation on how to produce the notes, how to do the double stops, whatever, everything, the movement of the arm, all of that stuff. That's the first option. You buy the book on Amazon, $10 on Kindle, on Kindle. Other option, you go to Isaac Stern, who gives private lessons, right? And you take a lesson with Stern, And Stern, you play the violin, and Stern says, no, not like this, not like this, like this. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. Can you see all the shortcuts by just doing, right? Looking, doing, that you take? Because if you're young enough, right? If you're like 4 years old, and if you take this lesson from Isaac Stern, I mean, chances are, if you like playing the violin, that someday you'll play at Carnegie Hall. But if you buy the book on Amazon, good luck with even fiddling somewhere in the Highland of Scotland, right? For all this Scottish dance, Not even that, right? So that's the idea. So yes, part of the teaching at some point is just through mirroring your own observations, and in this way you take shortcuts. In other words, you do the thing, and thereafter you realize, wow, that was great. That was the way to do it. How simple it was, And then you may update your intellectual understanding, you see. So yes, you may notice that by trying vegetarian food first, for instance, for the example, I was eating 2 steaks a day, for many years in my life, or fish or stuff. When I became interested in this thing, at first I heard that Krishnamurti, who was my Upa Guru, was a vegetarian. So that, but I didn't steer. I wasn't really inclined to do that. I met my teacher. I was not sure he was my teacher at the time. I was still eating meat, But nevertheless, I had already started once a week to eat vegetarian. Then on the following summer, I spent a few weeks, almost a month, with my teacher in Switzerland and eating with him 3 meals a day, basically. And I noticed how his vegetarian diet was beautiful. There were no restrictions. You know, we had a good a glass of Bordeaux Grand Cru, you know, and we beautiful salad, beautiful pizzas or whatever, you know, all. I felt that I could eat like that without any restriction. And from that moment on, I've been a vegetarian all my life. It hasn't killed me, but it's we try something, and when we try it, perhaps if I had tried it in different conditions, I wouldn't have become a vegetarian. Actually, I had tried it a year before on a macrobiotic place. It was kind of very restrictive. So I did at the time I didn't adopt this diet. But the main point is, yes, it's regarding the application of our understanding to our daily life. Shortcuts taken from living example are important. We don't need to rationalize everything.
And I guess ethically by any measure, living as though you're not a separate self is probably a good idea, whether you realize that to be the truth or not.
Yes, you know, and we are not going to be perfect, you know. Some people are not going to be vegetarian, some people are going to eat eggs, some people are going to wear leather shoes. I do, because I feel the animals are not killed for their skin. I don't wear fur coats, you know, first because I'm not Russian, second because I live in South California and not in Shropshire, and third because the poor animals are precisely killed for their skin, right? So, yes, hi Fatima.
You recommend trying to see the consciousness or awareness in everyone rather than seeing a person. I'm wondering whether that's something that like spontaneously occurs once we stop believing that our own consciousness is limited, or is it something that we can, is there some way we can facilitate seeing everyone that way?
Yeah, we can facilitate it, definitely. We can facilitate it in two ways. Starting from the mind, from the thought, and also starting from the body. The way to facilitate it, starting from the mind, is before we interact with someone, is to decide, I am addressing the awareness. I'm not addressing a body. I'm not addressing a mind. I'm addressing myself. I am talking to myself, you know. And during the interaction, to remind oneself, you know, several times, I'm not talking to a person, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to you, beautiful consciousness, to myself. I am talking to God, you know. I am jumping beyond this barrier of body and of mind and concepts and beliefs. I am talking directly to that which is hearing what I am saying, to that which can understand, to the intelligence, to the love. That's the first way. And the other way is starting from the body to feel that our real body is the universe. And the universe starts with our immediate surroundings. So to feel that everything around us is our body. So then when we speak to this person, even the body then is very different, because it's like two flowers, on the same tree looking at each other, but they are united at the trunk, right? So we know that we are the same reality, you see? We are the same body, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other way. Any of these ways take you directly to a different type of interaction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. In my case, if I, for example, notice a judging thought about someone, I try to remind myself, and this reminder comes as a thought, like they are the same awareness as I am.
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
But it feels somewhat contrived. Like, I mean, with my son, for example, it's very easy. But it feels somewhat contrived, whereas sometimes I feel like I have access to an intuition that the awareness is the same, and that's almost felt more on a bodily level.
Yeah, it's especially difficult when we are addressing someone who is in ignorance, right? And because then there is a kind of crystallization of a person there. And in fact, we have to know that we are talking to awareness, and that at the same time this awareness is choosing to play the game of ignorance through this body-mind we are talking through, because you are not talking with the body-mind, you are talking through the body-mind to the awareness. In other words, our state of mind, if you see, is I am awareness, I am talking to myself, choosing to play this game through this instrument, you see? So in this way, I'm not going to judge, you see? I'm going to talk to the right person. It's like when you talk to the bank on the phone and they don't want to give you a good service. You say, well, I'd like to talk to your supervisor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, in this way, you don't talk to the person, to the body mind there. You talk to God, the supervisor, right? In the body mind.
Yes. See, yeah. So, but I don't know that directly. Like, I don't know that I know it because I trust you when you say that people choose ignorance, but I feel like I don't always know that I am choosing ignorance myself, so it's hard for me to apply that to others.
Okay. So let me try to help you with this. It's very simple. Do you have any evidence that you as awareness are dependent upon the body, that you are limited? No, you don't. You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
So then, since you don't have any evidence whatsoever that this awareness which you are is limited, whenever you believe that it is limited, it is a choice you're making out of your freedom. Nobody compels you. No. You cannot choose in this moment, for instance, to levitate because there is gravity on the surface of the earth. You cannot choose to all of a sudden eliminate gravity and stand on the chair and then sit there up in mid-air. You cannot choose that. So that is imposed. But to be a limited awareness, there is no experiential evidence that compels you to believe that way. Therefore, every time you believe that way, you choose ignorance out of your freedom.
Mm.
I know that ignorance in you doesn't like to hear that. That doesn't make it wrong.
Yes, yes.